On Friday, I visited my dad in the morning. He was very, very weak. And I decided to go back to the hospital that evening because I just knew. And my father had fought very, very hard against not being able to teach this semester or next. Teaching was a metaphor for living. And he always imagined going back to teaching, even when he was very, very ill. That's all he would talk about. That's all he would dream about. His dreams were being in a traffic jam and being late for class, or going to his classroom and finding that he couldn't find it, it wasn't there. All of his dreams, and he laughed about it. And he kept fighting to go back to teaching. And that evening, when I came back to his room, the TV was on and there was a sitcom there. A stupid sitcom, and he never watched sitcoms. He could no longer talk, but he could make hand motions, and I asked him if I could change it to the news, which he always wanted to watch, or a documentary. And he said, fuck it. And I realized that he'd finally let go. In fact, when I came into his room, I brought him a helium balloon that said, "I love you, Mom," with Sharpie crossing out the mom and putting Dad on there. And he smiled, like a relaxed kind of smile. He fought so hard to teach, which is to live, which is really what he lived for, and how he identified himself among all other things. And that evening, we watched 2.5, 3 hours of stupid TV together. And he accepted the fact that he'd never enter the classroom again. He died at 12:24. I got the notification at 12:10, and before I could get to the hospital, he had died. I cried that night before, that Friday, because I knew he was going to die either Saturday or Sunday. And I cried again after he died. But my most overwhelming feeling was one of complete relaxation. All my muscles that had been tight for so long relaxed, and I felt good. Now that's not a politically correct thing to say, but I'd been caring for him for a long time, and he'd been sick for a long time, and I'd been worried about what was going to happen next for a long time, and all of that was gone. Now I made a video which I took down. In that video I was very drunk, and I don't really look drunk. The way you can tell is I mispronounce words, about 5 or 6 of them. That's my tell. There's a few videos I have where I'm drunk, and that's how you can tell. Not only because I use people's names, but also because the general tone was one of anger, because I was angry. My father, in dying, had left me with a colossus. Oh, am I drunk? I'm actually not drunk, but I have to do it 5 or 6 times, so keep count. So he left me with a colossal mess, a financial mess, which I'm dealing with now. And I was angry after all that because I wanted to, he wouldn't walk with a cane. He wouldn't get oxygen in the home. He wouldn't let me bring someone in to help clean the house, buy groceries, wash the dishes, do the laundry. I ended up doing that because he couldn't admit that he was ill. Too ill to do those things for himself. And I was tired. But along with the sense of relaxation, all of a sudden I had to deal with things. So that Sunday after he died, I spent 4 hours on the computer and I made all my reviews free of charge because I couldn't deal with them. But what was really cool is that was step 1. And I'm not going to remember everything I did, but I know the next day I went to his bank and turned it into an online account, deposited some checks, and then I tutored, and then on the way back home from tutoring, I went to the funeral home and made arrangements, and then had to talk with South Miami Hospital to release the body and stuff like that. And along with that, I was taking care of his bills and talking to his accountant, and he hadn't paid his taxes since 2008. And when I made the other video, I don't remember when I made it. I think it was before he died. Yeah, it was before he died, of course, because I posted that on my YouTube profile page later. I was just pissed that I had to do all these things, but it's really amazing what's happened. I mean, I felt it right away. Instead of feeling this trepidation, I mean, before he died, I was waking up in the middle of the night pacing because I was anxious. After he died, I slept through the night. I felt so good that at least it was over for him and for me. We'd said our goodbyes. There was nothing left there. I even had trouble when people came up to me and they would talk about losing someone, and you could tell they weren't finished with that process, and they wanted something from me that I couldn't give them because I wasn't there. I was, by and large, finished. Not completely, let's say, but by and large, all that emotional stuff, because I'd been saying, he's dying, he's dying. He's going to be dead in my head for so long. I told him. He couldn't understand it. You know, he said, what's next? When all the operations they had done, 5 operations, had failed to make him better. He kept getting worse. What's next? And I said, there's nothing. They can't fix you. And he looked at me and he said, well, what's happening? And I said, you're dying. And he just looked like I was speaking a foreign language. And I know, maybe that's cruel, but it's the truth. Everyone knew it, and he had to have that information in his head too. So anyway, what happened to me? Well, there's all this stuff I've been dealing with, accountants, and I had a meeting with the attorney. In fact, I just came back with my second meeting with the attorney, and it's all terribly complicated. But I feel a sense of exhilaration. It's really freaky. I mentioned in that video the idea that I created and marketed a board game with a friend of mine, and it was very, very scary and hard because so complicated. So when you're looking at issues of probate, property assessment, and selling property and assets, and you're looking at trusts, and you're looking at estates, and you're looking at taxes, all these stuff I do not like. These are things that are just not my thing. I'm a science guy. But right now, it's exhilarating. And I handle things well. I can deal with it. I can, in fact, I use my sense of humor and all, but it's like, it's fun. It's not supposed to be. But yeah, there's a part of it's fun. It's just like an adventure. And there's a sense that, yeah, sure, I can handle this. I just learn what I need to learn, and I do what I need to do. And it's weird because I guess I wouldn't have expected that. But a lot of it had to do with the fact that I was terribly burdened with all that had happened with my father. And the difference between dealing with the struggles he went through, the surgeries he went through, the anguish he went through, the time he fell on the kitchen floor and called me, and there he was, splayed out on the kitchen floor, unable to get up with some kind of neurological difficulties, the time he called me when he was stuck in this parking lot somewhere and he couldn't urinate and had to be hospitalized, the time we had tachycardia, and all these times he keeps getting back up and goes out to teach and stuff. I love him, but what a nut. What a nut. So yeah, that last night he got the message. He's dying, and he relaxed and had a good time with me. We watched some stupid TV, and now all this stuff I'm doing ain't too bad. I regret the fact that I had to stop doing my videos. I'm really proud of those. The videos that I sell, they're educational videos. But I'm still tutoring full-time, and I'm dealing with this other stuff. And it really is exhilarating. It's sort of like, now you can stretch. And in a way, I was doing that with the videos to see if I could actually do something, if I could actually make money with them, if I could actually create this. And it succeeded. And in a way, I like those challenges, because if I go too long without a challenge, I just get dead inside. And I suppose with my dad, teaching was his challenge. And for me, I love to tutor. It's the same thing. So, I'm doing okay. Take care.